fresh out the box.
Fresh California plums.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Fresh Film Fridays, the podcast where two dudes pick the newest films streaming or in theaters or on independently owned websites and discuss them. Today we're talking about 2022's 4th of July, which was directed by Louis C.K. I'm your co-host, Alec.
Oh, I'm Eric. Just kidding, it's Justin.
There he is. You know, I was a little nervous to recommend this one for a couple reasons. Obviously, a lot of people still don't like Louis C.K., still don't really want anything to do with him. That was one of the reasons. The other reason is, this isn't really your kind of movie,
I don't know what you mean by that. I don't know what you mean by that.
Like, indie movies. I feel like you're not, into these kind of things. I mean, am I wrong? Did you like this movie?
That actually was one of my questions. Is this considered indie because it's not, a movie theater blockbuster release?
Well, this is probably as indie as you can get because it's 100% funded by Louis C.K., edited, directed, produced, released on his website. So this is about as indie as it gets.
Okay. Well, before we talk about it, do you want to give a synopsis of it?
Yeah. So basically the film is about this guy, Joe List is the actor. And he basically is a newly sober guy, about 3 years, lives in New York City, he's a jazz pianist, and he's just not really, he's kind of in a rut in his life. Thinks about his family and how he's always struggled to connect with them, in a loving way, and they've just been very quiet their whole lives and just never really connected on that emotional level. So he goes back to confront them on the 4th of July. They have a big party, and it's basically about that. It's about him confronting his family and it just not going the way he planned, and much bigger message here than just that, but I think we'll get into that. But that's basically the movie.
Yeah. Why do you think Louis C.K. released it without, distributors?
I think there's a couple reasons. I mean,
did it have to do with the penis?
I think partly it had to do with his penis. No, seriously, I think a lot of people are afraid to touch him. They're afraid to be like, oh yeah, we'll produce your movie, or we'll give you money, or we'll do this. And I don't know if you've ever seen the show Horace and Pete. Have you ever heard of that?
Is that the animated one?
No. So it's a Louis C.K. He did a TV series, basically. It's shot like a play, almost like a multicam sitcom, sort of. Fantastic cast, very, very well done. It's on Hulu now, I think. But he did the same thing. He basically just got, Jessica Lange, Steve Buscemi, just a ton of actors, Laurie Metcalf. You'd recognize everybody. And basically, they released this on his website just like this, and it was, critically acclaimed. Everybody thought it was amazing. So he was like, I guess I'll just do that again. But he also released his own stand-up specials on his website, and one of them won Best Comedy Emmy at the Emmys last year. So he's having a lot of success doing this. So I think having it be on his own website was a way for him to just be like, I'm in complete control. Nobody can tell me what I can and can't do. If you want to see this movie, you pay directly to see it, and there's no middleman. So I think it's a genius way to do things. But yeah, I think his penis had something to do with it, though.
Yeah, after Andrew Schulz recently did that, which is obviously a big risk because you can lose money, but I think if people who are fans of Schulz are going to pay money on the website, he ended up, I think he said he made triple his expected profits.
Who did, Louis or?
Schulz, Andrew Schulz.
Oh, okay.
And also because when you go through these distributors, they'll censor some of your jokes. For example, they wanted to pull some of Schulz's jokes. And I do think Louis C.K. wanted to get his feet wet again by kind of doing this. Because once you kind of get that reputation, it's tough for people to forget.
I mean, it really is. He put his show, too, that was on FX. I know FX was just like, get out of here. We don't want nothing to do with you. So he got his rights back to his show. That's also on his website. I've never gotten anything from his website before, but this is the first thing. And yeah, it's different because it sucks. You can't just put it on your TV if you don't have Apple Play or whatever. It's hard. I had to watch it on my computer. So there's little restrictions like that. But I don't know, man. It raises the question. This is before we jump into this movie. I kind of wanted to ask you a little bit about it. I love live events, but I hate buying tickets. The hidden fees suck, and coordinating with friends is a nightmare. I always end up fronting a bunch of money and then chasing down my friends to get reimbursed. And if they flake, I'm stuck with the whole bill. But then I discovered Fanimal. Fanimal has tickets to everything, and there are no fees. The price you see is the price you pay. Not only are the prices transparent, but they're almost always lower than anywhere else I look. And for any hot tickets, like Lollapalooza, or a Dodgers game, or a weekend concert, Fanimal is always the cheapest option. Nobody goes to live events alone, so why buy tickets alone? Fanimal's patented group purchase makes it easy. First, you set a minimum size for your group and choose the number of tickets you want to pay for yourself. Then you invite friends. When the minimum size is met, everyone gets charged and receives their tickets. If the minimum size isn't reached in time, nobody gets charged. You don't commit until your friends do. And Fanimal has amazing customer service. Check out their hundreds of 5-star reviews. The next time you need tickets, go to Fanimal.com or download the Fanimal app and sign up with code HORROR for $20 of credit towards your first purchase. Check out Fanimal and experience more. This idea potentially could be like the future of independent filmmaking, like going back to the 90s almost. You know, like if Quentin Tarantino or Richard Linklater or somebody like that, like, or Kevin Smith, let's just say they're like, we can't find, or I want to make a movie that I don't want to get any notes. It's 100% up to me. Every single thing, you just pay me directly. Granted, they'd have to self-finance it, but could you see this going away? Like, if you wanted to see the new Quentin Tarantino movie, would you pay directly on his website to see it?
Yeah, I think if anyone wants to see something badly enough, or if they're big enough fans, they're going to do it. And like you said, a lot more indie directors might shift towards that, because if you already have a website, you could put it on your website and be like, you know, $19.99 instead of paying a distributor, having to pay to market it. Everyone can just, you're essentially marketing it yourself by funneling everyone to you. Mm-hmm. Like, you know, theoretically, we could do that. Like, you, me, and Eric could make something. It might not be the best quality because you're not getting investors to pay for top-notch, you know, camcorders or whatever. But for all those people out there that have scripts that don't know what to do next, this is a good idea.
I mean, granted, Louis C.K. has a massive following. He's got millions of dollars. Like, he's done all the work to get there, so it's a lot harder. Like, It's like this podcast. Like, you know, we just started from the ground up. We don't have any accolades or anything like that, and we're growing. But imagine if, like, you know, Steve-O was on our podcast. It'd be, like, immediate attention from the start. So he does have that going for him, but I don't know, man. I've never done anything like this where I've seen a movie that's just completely... I mean, dude, Louis C.K. edited this, too. Like, he edited his own movie. Like, that's pretty rare. So I like that it's all totally encompassing of just his brainchild, basically.
Yeah, it was great. I liked it, so...
Wow, you did. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I liked it because it didn't feel like a movie. It felt like almost realistic, you know, when you get together at like family events for holidays, and this guy just happened to have a really obnoxious Boston family that would get drunk and play stupid pranks like flick each other's nuts and, you know, have rude language, and he just was embarrassed by his family.
It's interesting because, like, he used to be just like them. When he was drinking, he was basically just like, all right, I'm part of this, whatever. I don't fit in, but at least the alcohol makes it tolerable, sort of thing. He leaves, he gets sober, he kind of, like, reflects on his past and his family and everything like that, and he's just like, this is so dysfunctional. Like, this is so messed up. So he's like a fish out of water now, but he's got that sobriety to basically... He's able to articulate his feelings now, you know, as opposed to just, like, kind of being numb and going along with it. But... to me, this movie, and I want to know if you agree with this, I think this movie's about breaking trends in a family. Like, you recognize something about your parents that you don't like, or you recognize something about your grandparents that's been passed down. It potentially could go generations. I mean, great-great-great-grandparents, it just keeps going down. And he's, like, breaking this chain of, like, I want to be able to say I love you, I want to be able to hug, I want to be able to actually talk about our feelings and not be everything brushed off and surface level and whatever. Because you notice the scene where, like you see his father starting to, like, have these, like, internal conflicts. He starts thinking about the way that his father was with him. So it's like, you see it getting passed down. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it definitely, you know, we talk about character development in movies, and this definitely had it, because in the beginning, Louis C.K. is his therapist, and he's kind of explaining how he has some issues from his childhood, and he's, you know, over the past years, he's been working on, like, building up the courage to say something to them every time they, like, meet up in Maine on, like, this 4th of July family retreat, and he never does it. And then he may have done it in not the best manner because he kind of exploded. But if you notice the scenes after they forgive each other, like, everyone seems more at ease. Like, it kind of like it needed to be said, and it all worked out in the end. I will say, though, I thought just from seeing so many movies, he was going to end up with, I think her name is Liz, the friend who was there.
Oh, yeah.
I thought they were going to be, like, you know, fall in love and he would break up with his wife, but that didn't happen.
I like that didn't happen. I just like that her character was there. I think she kind of represented the audience, where it's just like, oh, okay, like, she doesn't know anything about this family. The audience doesn't know anything about this family. So it's kind of like we just get to, like, live through her. But yeah, that would have sucked if he, like, left his wife for her. It's just like, all right, there's a lot going on here now. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I really enjoyed, like, the way that, the realness that you were mentioning earlier. Like, it does feel very real. Like, you can't choose your family. You just have to kind of, like, play your role in the dynamic of the family, it seems like. And you're a different person when you're around your friends. You're a different person at work. You're a different person around your family. And I think this is just, like, I can't remember the character's name. Jeff. I think this is just Jeff's attempt at basically just trying to, like, get what he needs to move on with his personal life, you know?
Yeah, and the story was also about him not only overcoming his family issues, but, he's in AA, and, his whole family was drunk the whole time, and he used to get drunk with them, and he was mentioning how when he used to get drunk, he was an asshole, and they're kind of reflecting that attitude, and it was a good story, because then he also had, there were like subplots to it as well, because he had his sponsory person, and it was funny, because, like, the two, like, the uncles or the cousin, like, they kept insulting him about being from New York and not drinking. And I laughed pretty hard when he was like, yeah, he's in AAA.
Well, everybody in this movie was a comedian. I mean, Robert Kelly was his sponsee. He's a comedian. Nick DiPaolo, the Uncle Kevin guy that basically, the guy that keeps pulling his pants down and all that stuff, he's a comedian. So a lot of these guys are just Louis C.K.'s friends, basically. And, yeah, they were all hilarious. Well, I guess, like, just the language that everybody used, too. Like, you don't see that in a lot of movies nowadays. Like, and I don't think you really could. I think that only you really could see that kind of language in, like, an indie film. Because I don't think Hulu or, like, Netflix, maybe they would be, but they'd be okay with, like, a current film that they're distributing using a lot of the language they used.
Yeah, I mean, the curse words were probably fine, but the derogatory words that they were calling him would definitely not, you can't put on streaming platforms. And it was good that these people are not only, like, you could tell they were Louis C.K.'s friends, and, it got a 7.3, so it did well. And this is kind of what he needs to get the ball rolling again, because imagine if this was, like, a shitty, not funny flop movie. Now people would say, like, he's releasing shit, and then he had the issue a couple years ago with the sexual harassment thing. So I think he's just going to kind of move on by himself, and I'm sure he's going to make plenty of money.
Well, there's a lot of stuff that's come out since his whole, like, sexual harassment stuff to now, dude. I mean, he literally won the Emmy last year for his stand-up hour. I mean, he's released, I think, 2 stand-up comedy specials on his website exclusively, and Horace and Pete. So he's done quite a bit between all that stuff. This is his first feature film, I think, ever. I don't think he's ever directed a feature film even before the scandal. So, I mean, yeah, this is a way for him to just kind of, I don't know. I don't really know what he's doing. Because I don't think he's trying to get back into the limelight and trying to be like, oh, cool, I'm back. Like, I think he's just kind of like showing, I can do this on my own. I don't need you guys. That's the impression I'm getting, at least.
Yeah, and also I like how a lot of talented people can kind of do more than one thing. So, like, everyone knows him as a stand-up comedian. And not every comedian can direct a movie. I mean, maybe a comedy, but not something like this where it's, like, deep and explaining how this son kind of felt troubled through his life because he just never felt like his family loved him and showed, affection. And then you have this comedian who then makes this really serious movie that did well, and it shows that he can do more than just make people laugh.
Yeah. Oh, my God. I mean, I think that... Did you ever watch a show on FX, Louis?
Yeah, a long time ago.
I mean, it's a comedy, but it's like a sad comedy. It's very real, and I think Louis C.K. knows how to, like, hit that emotional chord in people and make them just, I don't know, feel something. I mean, I really, I didn't cry, but I was getting choked up in the scene where they're like, I could see you being a dad. Like, you'd be a great dad. And they're, like, really telling this guy, and it's, like, hitting him in that pizza restaurant. I was like, damn, I don't know why this is, like, really making me feel, like, bad for this guy, and he just needed some encouragement in his life to fucking click. But I gotta say, man, like, there's this mentality that, like, I didn't have growing up or whatever, but in certain families where it's like, you're gonna disrespect your mother? It goes above everything. Doesn't matter what your mom did. It's still like, this is her home and you're disrespecting her? And, like, going off about that. I was like, so there's no, like, I don't know. So the mom can do no wrong, basically, in the situation.
Yeah, I mean that's what it was like. A tight knit Boston family.
Oh God.
But yeah, he I think his name is Jeff, right? Jeff had it pretty tough because he was explaining to his current wife that his ex-girlfriend, he read the text on her phone and how she said he's really nice, blah blah blah, but like not attractive. So then he probably had huge issues from that. And then his wife tells him right after that that he's a great husband, but she gave up on the idea of having kids because she didn't think he would be a good dad. And then I'm just like, dude, this guy's gonna jump off the roof. Like, who would say that? And then he goes up to his family that's just making fun of him the whole week. It was a bit unfortunate.
Well, it's funny. It's not funny, but that Joe List guy, he co-wrote this with Louis C.K., and that actually happened to him. He went through his girlfriend's phone or whatever, saw that really happened. She really was like, he's super funny, but I'm not attracted to him. And then he didn't tell her. Yeah, so he just like lived with it for a while until he finally just like snapped. So,
jeez.
Yeah, so I mean, this guy's life is not like ideal, but I don't know. I liked him and his girlfriend's little relationship. I liked how unbelievably insecure he was. Like, he'd even make a joke to her, be like, haha, don't sleep with all my friends when I'm away. She's like, I'd do that with her without you being away. And he's like, haha, you're kidding though, right? Like, he's so insecure. It's like painful.
That was funny. That was a funny scene. I thought him and the wife were kind of split for sure, though. Especially that phone call was kind of weird, though. She went to the doctor to basically see if she could get pregnant. I don't know how old they were.
Like 40.
Yeah, and she said that the doctor like said word for word like not gonna happen.
Yeah, I mean, well, I think that's probably what would happen. I'd assume at 40 they might be like, you might be too late to do this. I don't know.
Yeah,
but it's sad. But I think that was kind of just like, it just kind of like shows like no matter what happens, like life's just gonna go on. So like you're gonna make the best of a situation, whether you connect with your family, whether you can't have kids, like whatever it is, like life's gonna still continue, and you're just gonna cope and you're gonna make the best of it. That's what I took from it, at least. Because he has that conversation where he's like, we're gonna be okay. Like, it doesn't really matter what's gonna happen. We're gonna be okay.
Yeah.
And even if we're not, we're still okay. Like, I hope that's what happens and they don't go back and they get divorced or whatever. But this episode of the podcast is brought to you by Bard's Clothing. The days of "Hi, my name is" are over. We live in a virtual world, and our images are being shared on social media and professional pages every day. With over 1,000 fabrics to choose from, Bard's Clothing is here to tell your story through clothing. Make sure the image you want people to have of you is the one you're sending, because by the time you get face-to-face, their minds might already be made up. Quality clothing all made here in America. Head on over to www.bardsclothing.com or follow them on Instagram @bardsclothing. First thing in the movie that really did make me laugh, though, is that opening quote, dude.
Which one was it?
I can't remember exactly what it is, but it's like, you don't get to choose your family, like, you just have to, like, love them or whatever, and it's just, like, that old guy from Home Alone.
Oh, yeah.
That was, like, I was like, all right, I'm already on board, this is great. But I don't know, I mean, I think just living in New York, being a sober guy, and then also living in Boston, so, like, seeing a lot of these kind of people, like, I just really connected with this movie, so I enjoyed it a lot.
I would have liked to have seen, I know the movie was not about Louis C.K., but I would have liked if they added 10 minutes to the movie, because it was only an hour and 30, so it was a good time. Mm-hmm. And with the extra 10 minutes, they had like 3 or 4 scenes of 2-minute like FaceTime calls with Jeff and Louis, kind of like throughout the week when he's dealing with, like about to tell his family, after he tells his family, whatever, he does like a FaceTime, and on the right you see Jeff's face, on the left you see Louis, and he calls him, and he just kind of explains what's going on, and then Louis kind of gives him help for 2 minutes. I would have liked that.
Yeah. I mean, they did that one scene where he's like, I'm at home, Jeff. Like, he's like, oh, sorry. Like, sorry. Like,
yeah.
Yeah, but you wanted more. You just, like, actually them talking, yeah.
Yeah, more Louis because, I kind of wanted to see that, like, attachment with him and his therapist because he's just, like, so needy and doesn't know what to do. And also because it could kind of add some humor where he's like, I just told my family I'm freaking out, whatever. And then, like, you can have Louis' seriousness as the therapist, like, giving him advice and just watching it fall apart.
Yeah, I mean, it is short and, it'd be funny to see more Louis C.K. in it. But, yeah, I don't know. Because it's funny, you said that the movie got, what'd you say, 7 point something?
7.3.
Yeah, dude, I'm looking at here Rotten Tomatoes, though. It says it got a 31.
Yeah, but all these sites give it different.
Yeah. I guess, I don't know, because I guess, like, what do people expect out of this movie? I think it's just about, like, life and just, like, things just happen. Because, like, what would make this movie better? Like, the mom is like, you're right, I was a terrible mother, oh my god. And then, like, he just gets everything he wants. It's like, no, that's probably not what would happen in real life either. Like, people aren't just going to immediately assume responsibility for everything. And granted, like, they don't have the ability to communicate this family, it seems like. But, like, there wasn't going to be this huge cathartic moment and everything works out perfectly. And then he goes home and has the baby and it's just like, that's not going to happen. That's not life.
Yeah, like, here's an example. I found a 1-star review, and I just read it, and it's not good. He said, terrible, boring, unfunny waste of time. There is no story. The characters are unlikable, underdeveloped, and the dialogue is lifeless. I was a big fan of Louis, but this made me question his judgment. And, like, I don't think this viewer understood, like, it's not meant to be a comedy. So it's meant to literally be, like, imagine you as a person have a family that you don't get along with because they just get drunk and embarrass you, and you have to spend a week with them. And then, like, the fact that he said the characters are unlikable, you're not supposed to like them. It's supposed to be an asshole cousin who pulls your pants down in front of a girl that you don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. You have to have your expectations about going into this. It's not going to be like Louis C.K. stand-up. It's more about Jeff's story, and Jeff, you know, the actor that plays him, this is his story. You know, he is a sober guy. He does live in New York. I don't know. It is what it is. It's a character-driven life piece. I don't know. I don't know.
What would you give it out of 10?
I'd probably give it like a 7.8.
Okay.
You know, it's not going to blow your mind, but it's a good movie. I enjoyed it. What about you?
I'm going to go 7. It was good. I don't think it's for everyone. And the thing is I didn't even hear about it without you telling me. So not sure how he's marketing it.
Yeah, the only way I heard of it is Louis C.K. and Joe List went on Joe Rogan's podcast, and I just listened to it, and then they were talking about this movie, you know, a lot. And I was like, you know what? Why not? So I just kind of checked it out. It sounded interesting the way they were explaining it. So, And again, I just think that, like, this opens a door for the future of independent films. You know, if it's a director that hasn't been around in a while. I'm not saying people that just have had, like, scandals about them, but just people that, you know, are like Kevin Smith, for example. I know he's had a lot of trouble getting distribution for, like, Jay and Silent Bob, the reboot or whatever. Dude, if you just release it on kevinsmith.com or whatever, I bet a lot of people would have paid to see it.
Yeah, definitely.
As opposed to, going to the theaters and all that shit.
And you'd probably, I mean, I don't know what the figures look like, but you'd probably end up making more money because not only do you not have to pay distributors, but you can make it as funny and as vile as you want language-wise. And the fans who like Louis C.K. or Kevin Smith are going to watch it.
And this is kind of how I feel about stand-up comedy. It's like, if you're paying money to go see this, you can't really get offended or upset. You know, it's like you know what you're getting, sort of thing. I'm a fan of Louis C.K.'s work. Obviously, his personal life is whatever, but, you know, I think that if you enjoy his stuff, you'll definitely enjoy this movie. I just think it's a big accomplishment, just in general, for anybody to direct, write, produce, edit, distribute, all exclusively, and finance exclusively on their website through one person. Like, that's really impressive, just for anybody, so... I don't condone his behavior, but again, I think this is a good film.
Yeah, because, you know, we've all seen our fair share of indie movies that are very okay. I've seen the ones that we reviewed on this podcast. We've done some good ones that I actually really enjoyed, but usually, at least for me prior to seeing good ones, when you kind of hear the word indie, it's like it could be 50-50.
Yeah, so I'd be curious to see if this actually does get nominated for anything. I don't know. We'll see. I mean, the Academy's not afraid to nominate Louis C.K. You know, clearly he won an Emmy last year, so we'll see what happens. But I don't know. You got any last-minute thoughts on this one?
No.
All right. Well, everybody, thank you very much for listening into our discussion on 4th of July. If you haven't had a chance yet, we released Darkness Falls on Monday, which is an interesting movie. You can check that out. And then this upcoming Monday, we have The Hills Have Eyes, the 1976 version. So you can check that out. And we'll see everybody next week with something fresh.